There are 10 rounds in the competition. The first 4 are the required dives, and after 4 rounds, Scott Donie is the leader, Pat Evans is second, Russ Bertram third, and in a real surprise, 15-year-old Chris Mantilla currently in a tie for 4th.
What a tremendous job this young man is doing against the big boys of diving. He has landed on his head. He's gone in the water without a splash on the last 4 dives. But as the divers say, the optional rounds are where the games begin.
And he begins his optional round with a relatively simple dive. What's the strategy?
All he's doing here is an inward 2.5 in the tuck position. The problem for Chris is he is not filled out like the rest of these older boys, so he's going to have to do some of the easier dives, but do them well. Just like that, right in the water. What a great dive for Chris. Not a high degree of difficulty, but I'm sure he and his coach will be happy with that effort. Takes right off the platform here, right up over, exactly where he needs to be. He's going to kick out, look right in the water. This is such a great thing to see. This is the youth of diving rising to the top at the senior level. This is really an outstanding performance by Chris Mantilla.
And pretty decent numbers on that performance by Chris Mantilla, who has his 16th birthday a week from today. He'll be in the 10th grade at Spanish River High School in Boca Raton, Florida. A first-time finalist here at the Nationals. In fact, has only been diving for 3 years. And Michelle, you used to coach him, right?
I had the opportunity to work with Chris for about 6 months down in Boca Raton. And while all the divers were really great, you could tell there was something a little bit different about Chris. I couldn't get him out of the pool. That kid wanted to dive morning, noon, and night, and obviously his hard work is paying off here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Likes to surf and to play golf, and was platform runner-up at the Junior Olympic Championships last year, but as you pointed out, as he chills out a little bit between dives, he is moving up with success against the big boys here today.
Chris Mantilla, what a great effort. And here, a 1988 Olympian. This shows you the other end of the field in Bartlesville. This is Patrick Jeffrey. I was on the Olympic team with Pat back in Seoul in 1988. Again, you can't meet a nicer guy, but I'll tell you, when he's on that platform, this man is competing.
Currently in 4th place.
Big dive, front 3.5, height position. Oh. Veteran went over on that dive. That's going to hurt him in the standings. It looked fine coming off the platform. He hit the end of the platform, looked just fine, spinning, but look where his head is. See, his head is a little bit down. It's looking at his knees. And I think as he comes around here, he needed to look out a little bit more toward the other side of the pool, but instead he's looking down, and you can see his feet kick up a big splash.
What kind of scores do the divers look for here as Jeffrey comes up with 4.5 to 5s?
What generally is diving terminology is anything better than a 7.5 will get you there, and what that means is it'll get you in the top 3. You don't like to see the 4.5, obviously, but rarely in a national championships are you going to see the 10.
So Patrick Jeffrey out of Madison, New Jersey, an Ohio State University graduate who recently moved from Columbus to Fort Lauderdale to train, has to be disappointed with that dive, and he had been on a roll. Yesterday he won his first national title. It was on the 3-meter springboard. Now the defending champion in this event, Pat Evans, with a good showing so far in 2nd place.
Pat looked very solid in the warm-up today, and he looks very solid here. This is one of those dives, however, that is a make or break situation. He does a very interesting thing in this handstand. He'll actually walk into the handstand, very unusual.
Pat has lived in Cincinnati his entire life.
Short on that dive. You know, the door is beginning to open even in these early rounds, Tom.
First round of the optionals and some cracks appearing in the performances.
This dive looked pretty good, although a little bit slow coming off the platform. He needed to get his legs through just a little bit faster, and as you can see, it's obvious he's just running out of room and can't get that dive all the way around to vertical. Here's his coach, Charlie Casuto. You know, the great thing about this relationship is that Charlie Casuto has been with Pat Evans since he was 9 years old. Through high school, through college. Now Pat, married to another diver. And it's a wonderful lifetime relationship.
And now Scott Donie. Scott Donie, the leader after the first 4 rounds. He was the leader after the semifinals, trying to make a comeback after missing 5 months due to a stress fracture of his left foot.
Solid dive, not the best I've seen Scott do that dive. He missed his entry a little bit on the bottom. Solid dive, not going to hurt him. Great takeoff here on the start. He's nice and flat in that pipe, good distance. As you can see, though, he just doesn't look like he quite gets stretched out going for the water. Yep, that's what he's saying. Little short, Ron. You know, the purpose of the coaches here, Tom, is they kind of tell the divers what it is that just happened. Sometimes you aren't sure.
But those scores are good enough to keep Scott in first place. And, you know, Scott is a graduate last year of SMU with a degree in advertising, and he sort of sells himself to the crowd when he performs. In fact, he told us a couple of days ago that he likes to excite the crowd when he dives.
The main thing I want to do is put on a good show for everybody. You know, I want to make sure that anyone that came to watch me comes back, you know. Whether I go for it all out and get 2s or go for it all out and get 10s, at least it's exciting to watch, you know, because that's the main thing for the fans.
You know, he does have a good rapport with the crowd, Michelle. I was watching him a couple of days ago in the 1-meter competition here, and he completely botched one of his dives, almost did a belly flop. And as he got out of the pool, he did a mock formal bow to the crowd and drew a good laugh. Of course, I also noticed after he rounded the corner where they couldn't see him, he slammed his chamois against the wall, so he does have a competitive side as well.
He's a very competitive diver, but you know, Scott's so easygoing. It's great to see him concerned about the crowd and concerned about the fans, and it's also nice to see that the guy has a sense of humor.
Scott Donie says, I'm back after that injury. At the end of 5 rounds, he is the leader. Scott Donie in first place. The big surprise so far, 15-year-old Chris Mantilla in second place after 5 rounds.